Well, let's talk about the future of the global currency situation. Currently, the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency of the world, but there's been talk of reverting to SDRs, where China, has a part. Could we even see gold play a part in it?
Gold's a bit of a stretch. I think the international monetary system will collapse sometime in the next, 3 to 4 years. That's really not meant to be a provocative statement. The international monetary system has collapsed 3 times in the past 100 years. It collapsed in 1914, it collapsed again in 1939, and it collapsed again between 1971 and 1973. So these things do happen. When it collapses, it doesn't mean the end of the world, or everyone's living in caves with candles or whatever. What it means is that the major trading and financial powers have to sit down at the table and reform the system. They have to decide what the new rules of the game are. So that's happened a number of times, and there are models for that. So to me, the interesting question is to look through that process and say, okay, what will the future of the international monetary system be, and who has the seat at the table? Think of it as a game of Texas Hold'em. We're all going to sit around the table with our pile of chips, but the chips may very well be in gold. That doesn't mean you automatically go to a gold standard, but gold is the kind of the ultimate base money. The U.S. has 8,000 tons. The 17 members of the European monetary system together have 10,000 tons. China is the weak player. They officially have 1,000 tons. I'm certain they have more than that unofficially. They're not transparent about it. They really lie about their gold holdings, but they probably have at least 2,000, maybe as much as 3,000 or 4,000 tons. But their pile of chips is still small relative to the size of their economy. So that's one of the reasons China is acquiring gold as quickly as they can. So I don't necessarily think we go back to a gold standard right away unless things really fail catastrophically. But gold will determine your kind of seat at the table, if you will, and play a role in the new international monetary system.
So would we see, a lot of people talk about a gold standard, and they automatically think maybe we have gold backing a fiat currency such as the U.S. dollar. But I think in the long run, we might see gold used as, I don't know, an international settlement piece. Is that kind of where you're going with this argument?
Yeah, the problem with, by the way, I think a gold standard is entirely possible. There's not a central bank in the world today that actually wants a gold standard, but they may have no choice. If you have a kind of an instantaneous, catastrophic loss of confidence in paper money, major countries may have to go back to a gold standard, not because they want to, but because they have to restore confidence. Russia is a very interesting case. We go back to 2009. As I talk about in my book, we did a war game scenario for the Pentagon. The Pentagon was interested in financial warfare, and one of the scenarios we played out is that Russia would acquire a lot of gold and would partner with China, which was also acquiring gold, and launch a new gold-backed currency. Well, guess what? We did that in 2009. Since 2009, Russia has increased its gold reserves 50%. They've gone from approximately 600 tons to a little over 900 tons, so a 50% increase in the last 4 years. And they're continuing to do that. The Russian central bank buys a little bit of gold every month, and we know China's acquiring gold. So these countries, Russia and China in particular, are positioning themselves for a collapse of the dollar-based system and getting as much gold as they can. And obviously Russia's there. They've sort of closed the gap. They only have 1/8 as much gold as the United States, but their economy is only 1/8 the size. So relative to the economy, they have the right amount of gold. China's not there yet. China has to keep buying.
Well, there's been a lot of trouble in China recently. They had an incredible expansion in lending, and then they had a pullback. There was a liquidity crisis, and I'd like to read something for you right now. It's a quote, and it says, China's State Council said it would cut off credit to force consolidation in industries plagued by overcapacity as it seeks to end the economy's dependence on extravagant investment funded by cheap debt. So does this seem like a major policy change, getting rid of the magical 10% GDP every year?
Well, they talk a good game. Let's see if they follow through. This is sort of tapering with a blunt instrument, if you want to put it that way. But China has exactly the same problem as the United States. You had a credit expansion. You had over-leverage. Now they want to kind of rein that in. The U.S. had a collapse in 2009, but the problems still aren't solved. A lot of those bad assets are still on the bank balance sheets. The banks are still undercapitalized, and all we've done really is replace private leverage with public leverage.